Hello and welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage and today we're going to be having a look at Litecoin. Before we jump into the price action, I just want to say thanks for watching. If you are enjoying the content, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out, it's free to join. So I just want to go over some of the macro things that we're talking about here before we jump into the micro stuff. Basically, we're still looking for that possibility we could have a Z wave to the downside towards this 2686. Alternatively, it is possible that we could actually see this come up a little bit higher. If we do, this 114 area would be of particular interest to me. Potentially this could look to actually bring us up into this trend line, which if we draw it off these highs, is over here towards that 114 area. So I'm keeping an eye on that. That would also be an interesting zone as a retest of some of these key support areas that we had. And then basically, we could actually be looking to see one more push to the upside here. However, it is also possible we've completed here. So we need to be aware that this could actually look to start to break down here and look to start to form this bigger move to the downside. So this is the one bearish way that we're still looking at the move. The alternative is looking at this move as a single structure here, as a whole A wave to the downside, and then looking for this as a potential W, X, and Y up here. Pretty much the same idea. The only difference is the target is much lower here towards this $12.83. So we'll have to obviously see how it develops. Potentially we could still see this break to the downside here. So what I'm looking for here, is whether we actually do see this additional ABC up here. Basically, what I'm looking for is this is an A wave, B, and a C wave to the upside. So that 1-to-1 of that is actually at this 112.57. So that could actually bring us back up into the top of this channel and look to retest it. Alternatively, we could actually see this move up slightly higher here towards this Y wave area of this 128.78 region. So, this is possible. Keep an eye on these zones. Potentially we could see a little bit more of a move up here into these areas. Obviously, we need to be careful. Like I said, potentially that move has completed into this high, and we could actually already be starting to break to the downside from here. So we're going to have to just go over these internal counts and say what we need to do to remain bullish. So those are the two bearish options that I'm looking at. The alternative is looking at this as a more bullish way, and basically they would be having a series of ones and twos in here. So it is starting to look promising the way that the structure is starting to have this incline here, but we need to see whether it continues to actually develop in this way. Because if this is a third of a third, which would be in this count, we want to see a nice steep slope to it. We want to see good volume come in. We want to see this thing start to gain some traction and really get up here and do something like this, where this becomes 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, and then we get pushed up towards this 177 range. So that would be a typical third wave we'd be looking for here. So if we do look to push up higher, potentially this would be what is going on, in which case, this could actually set us up for these extensions up here. I haven't put in the additional targets here because it would depend exactly how these waves form. Potentially this is to a 1.618. It could go higher towards a 2.618, and then we'd have something like this, and then this would be the point that this yellow third wave comes into. So I've not gone too mad, but basically this 177 is an area that I'm looking for confirmation of a bigger structure here that we could look to develop. If we did move up to this 177, we'd need to wait for that confirmation of the fourth and then see another 5 wave move up for this 5th wave, depending on how high we come here. Potentially, it could actually look to take us into this 217 to this 192 range. So there's a lot that needs to happen for us to get there, though. This is just speculation at this point. We don't have enough structure. And the more ones and twos we count in a row like this, the less likely it becomes. So let's get down into smaller counts now. So we're going to go over the bullish one because that's the one that we've just looked at previously here. And what I'm looking for within this structure here is basically looking for that potential, that within this we have some ones and twos. So there's a couple of ways of looking at this. I've drawn this channel in here just based off of these lows here. Potentially we can mess around with this a little bit. I do also have these lines coming this way just off of these three highs here. Potentially, if we do look to retest this and this top channel, this could be a zone that actually we could look for some rejection. Would also be potentially a retest of the swing high here. So yeah, keeping an eye on this level here towards this 96, $97 range, slightly higher up here. If we do move up there, it could be a good opportunity to look for a short. Obviously, depending on what reaction we get here, this is not financial advice. This is just something that I will personally be looking for. If we do move up into this zone. Okay, so what I'm looking for here is basically the possibility of looking for a bullish move to the upside here, and we were looking for this. So there's a couple of ways of reading this. Potentially what we could argue is that within this, instead of counting this as a one and a sorry, counting this as a one and a two here, and another one, two here, potentially this could just be a one, two. This becomes another one, two, and then we look to push up. So this is still a viable option. So that's why I've got this green box here. As long as we hold this 80.48 level, potentially we could see this move even extend further here, where this becomes another one, two, and then we look to break to the upside for a third. This way, though, however, that I've got it marked down. Now, the reason I'm looking at it like this is because technically speaking, we can count this as a diagonal where this becomes a one, two, three, four, five as an expanding diagonal. It's not as common as the contracting, but it is still a viable count within here. So I am keeping that option open. Potentially, you could also argue that there's a triangle here, um, but the problem I have with that is this would have been a very short D wave, E wave in comparison to the rest of the move if you're going to look at it like that, because you wouldn't be able to really look at this move in this way as a D and an E. It wouldn't really fit the count nicely. So with that premise, basically what I'm doing is counting this as a one, two, three, four, and potentially looking for that fifth wave. It is possible that it could be completed already, where actually we have one, two, three, four as a triangle and a fifth wave, really short one in here. So, this is still viable. So we need to just see whether we actually do break down in a three-wave structure here, looking to target out this zone of this bottom channel and this 85, 82 to this 80, 48. So obviously this 50% here is quite an interesting zone. We can see there's a lot of interaction here as support and resistance. So potentially that could be an area we look to actually come back down to into as an ABC if we do move down here. So keep an eye on this level. Potentially that could be an area we look to actually have a turnaround. However, we also need to be aware this move does look like a five-wave structure to the downside. So if we do start to move down towards this zone here of this 83.56, let me just change the color on this 83.56, potentially what we could then be forming is a bigger five-wave move down here, in which case that would have to either be a wave one or an A wave. So if we do get a five-wave move down in here, basically what I'm going to be looking for is to see if we get a three-wave move up and then a continuation down. And that's where the secondary line here could actually be quite an interesting area to keep an eye on if we are going to get a bounce and a continuation up. Obviously, if we do move down past this low here, though, of this 76.67, that would invalidate that possibility of a 1-2. It would actually invalidate both possibilities, really. We wouldn't be able to look at this as a 1-2 and a 1-2 again because that would be, it just wouldn't work. The only way it would work if you want to still argue it's an impulse, you'd have to say 1-2, 1-2, 1. Now, even then, as soon as we lose the 76.71, basically that unravels. So if we do, potentially we could see a move back down into some of these lower levels here towards the 74.95. So that's what we'll be looking out for if we do break down. But we need to be aware that if we do break down from this point, we need to be cautious. There is a bearish count here. So what I'm looking for here is basically to see whether we can manage to get up to this 98.75. If we do manage to push up here one more time, the internal way that I would be looking at this would be basically looking at the. There you go. Nope, that's not it. Yeah, I suppose it is on you. So within this, looking at this possibility, for as long as we hold this 86.42 area, technically speaking, this could be a fourth wave still. I'd like to actually see it turn around from this point though. Otherwise, it starts to get quite large. Technically speaking, though, it could be a W, an X, and a Y. We come back down one more time into this 86.42 zone. That is a 50% retracement, and then look to push to the upside after that point. So, it is possible that we could see that. However, at the moment, what I want to see is whether we manage to hold this 91.25. If we do hold this 91.25 to this $90 range, and we don't move down past this 89 cent, potentially, so $89, what we could potentially see is here as a 1-2, form another 1-2 here, and then basically this starts to progress to the upside. So the target area for this, there's a couple of targets that I'm looking at within this structure. So the 0.382 of the wave 1 to 3 would actually be here at this 97.36. 0.618 of that would be here at this 102.27. This green box area would be a typical zone that we'd be looking for as a fifth wave. We can see, however, that, given the current structure here, if we have this as a 1, 2, 3 up to this $100 area, basically we'd be looking for a fourth and a fifth, something like this, which could actually look to push us up higher into this 102.36 to this 191 cent range. So this could be an interesting zone. Once again, that starts to push us up into some of these key areas here, could potentially test some of these and then actually look to fail. Or alternatively, this could start to gain some traction here and extend to the upside and go even higher and look for that bigger target. So this is looking at the move basically as a corrective structure, but the 5 wave structure towards the end of this is the same regardless of whether we're looking at this as an ABC or a potential 5 wave move to the upside. So if we do, however, move up past this zone, what we would be looking for this 98.75 is to see whether we get an additional fourth wave here into this 93.08 to this 87.06. So we can see how basically within this, the key zones here is going to be around these highs. If we continue to maintain these and potentially come back and back test it again, and find support, potentially we could see this extend out. So this is what I'm looking out for as a bigger 5 wave move, but confirmation would only come by actually pushing up towards this 123.01, and then we'd be looking potentially for a fourth and a fifth up towards this zone here of this 135.30 to this 125.75 range. So this would be quite an interesting area to keep an eye on. The reason I say this is this would also push us up towards this zone here of this 50% of the entire move from the downside. You would also look to push us into the zone where we're challenging some of these swing highs. So keep an eye on this if we do actually look to progress up here. And we could then look to test some of these key areas. Okay, so I'm going to go back down into the hourly. The other way that we're looking at this move is basically looking at it as a corrective structure down. Like we were talking about previously, there is that potential that within this is the X wave high, and we could be looking to form an A, B, and a C to the downside, or potentially something more sinister that's going to actually look to have a bigger sell-off. So in reality, if we want to talk about bullish potential here and further development, we really need to get back above these two highs here. This one here of this 98.45 and this high up here of this 105.82. Until we actually break back above those, we need to be aware that we can see some further extension to the downside here. And if it is a WXYXZ, this doesn't have to develop as a 5 wave move. It could just be a more complex 3 wave move. So we need to basically just be aware of that fact, that it could start to get quite choppy within these moves to the downside. Okay, so what I'm looking for here basically is to see whether this is a B wave to the downside. So if this is right, basically what we're looking at here is the fact that we've come up to the 786, which is here at this 85.26. So that would be 786 of this entire move to the downside. What we need to be aware of is within this could be a completed move, and we could actually start to break down where this becomes a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like I said, we get a 3 wave move up, third, fourth, and a fifth, and that could actually look to push us down towards this 58.99. So as long as we actually stay below these zones here, and even if we do push up one more time here, this 0.8 9854 is sitting at this 9846. So that would actually be aligned quite nicely with both a retest of this top channel as well as a retest of these swing highs here. So keep an eye on this area. If you do move up into this zone, could be an interesting reaction to see if it actually does start to break down from that point. So that's what we're going to be looking out for here. The idea within the internals of this are pretty much, well, the end wave is the same. Basically, looking out for the possibility that rather that this is an A, a B, and then looking to count this as a one, two, three, four, and then looking for that possibility of that fifth up here. So that fifth wave, one to one of that A wave, it brings us up to this 104.06, which would be actually a retest of this high. The 786 though actually pushes us up here into this zone of this 97.47, which is basically these highs. As well as that, within that zone, there is a little bit of confluence here that we have this 0.382, as well as this one to one here, which is basically a one to one of the first wave. So keep an eye on this area. There's a little bit of a cluster going on here. This 0.786 of the A wave, the 0.382 of the wave 1 to 3, the wave 1 to 1, or the wave 1, the 1, the 1 to 1 of the wave 1, and basically this typical rejection area that we have here, this $100 to this 97.59. So keep an eye on this zone. I do think potentially we could see a little bit more of a push up, but it all depends. We've got to be cautious within this. I'm still looking at this potentially as a flat, and that we're going to look to push up. But if it starts to break down deeper, then potentially this move to the downside could rather become a wave one, two, like I said, pushed on for a three, four, and a five, and then we start to challenge some of these key zones. And the problem is, if we do have a five-wave move here, like I said previously, we'd have to watch that retracement. Potentially, we could look for a rejection again, and then look for continuation down. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below, and also in the description you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out, it's free to join. As well as that, there are affiliate links for both PrimeXBT and BYBIT down there, both great exchanges that we use on a regular basis. If you do not have an account, using the affiliate link does help support the channel, and we do appreciate it. Everyone, have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.